This article represents a list of all past members of the bluegrass group Country Gentlemen. Founding members. Founding members of Country Gentlemen in 1957 were Charlie Waller, vocals, guitar; Bill Emerson, banjo, vocals; John Duffy, mandolin, vocals; Larry Lay, bass. The most famous are two other lineups of the Country Gentlemen, usually called First Classic and Second Classic lineup. First Classic lineup, 1960 to 1964. Charlie Waller, vocals, guitar; Eddie Adcock, banjo, vocals; John Duffy, mandolin, vocals; Tom Gray, bass, vocals. Members of this lineup were inducted into the International Bluegrass Music Hall of Honor in 1996. Second Classic lineup, 1972 1973. Charlie Waller, vocals, guitar; Bill Emerson, banjo, vocals; Doyle Lawson, mandolin, vocals; Bill Yates, bass, vocals. List of all past members by instrument. Guitar. Founding member, and the only one who was with the group from the beginning until the end. Charlie Waller played exclusively the acoustic guitar. There were other members of the group who contributed with guitar playing from time to time, especially for the songs where banjo was omitted, or when the group needed to overdub an extra acoustic guitar. Charlie Waller, 1957 to 2004. Pete Cooey Kendall, 1958-1959. Randy Waller, John Duffy, Eddie Adcock, Darren Aldridge, Kenny Smith, Billy Rose, Gene Wharton, Jimmy Gaudreau, Kent Dowell, mandolin; John Duffy, 1957 to 69. Jimmy Gaudreau, 1969 to 1972. 1981 to 1983. Doyle Lawson, 1972 to 1979. Rick Allred, 1979 to 1981. Jimmy Bowen, 1983 to 1995. Darren Aldridge, 1995 to 2004. Randall Hilton, Jeff Davis, Tim Finch, David Kirk, Norman Wright, Dwight McCall, five-string banjo; Bill Emerson, 1957-1958. 1970 to 1973. Pete Cooey Kendall, 1958-1959. Porter Church, June, July 1959. Eddie Adcock, 1959 to 1970. Walter Hensley, September 1961. James Bailey, 1974. 1976 to 1979. 1986 to 1988. Doyle Lawson, 1974. Mike Lilly, 1973-1974. Bill Holden, 1974 to 1976. Kent Dowell, 1979 to 1981. Dick Smith, 1981 to 1988. Keith Little, 1988. Kevin Church, 1988 to 1990. Billy Rose, 1991-1991. Greg Corbett, 1991 to 2004. Mark Delaney, Adam Poindexter, acoustic bass. There were a number of different bassists during almost 5 decades of lasting of the band. Tom Gray and Bill Yates were the most prominent ones. The latter spent almost 20 years with the group. Larry Lay, 1957. Tom Morgan, 1958. Jim Cox, 1958 to 1960. Tom Gray, 1960 to 64. Ed Ferris, 1964 to 69. Ed McLaughlin, 1969. Bill Yates, 1970 to 1990. Jimmy Bowen, 1990 to 1995. Ronnie Davis, 1995 to 2004. Matthew Allred, Tim Ashley, Steve Block, Gary Creed, Stoney Edwards, Billy G. Spider Gilliam, Sonny Johnson, Billy Rose, Roy Self, Lester Deaton, bass, Gene Wooten, Jimmy Gaudreau, dobro. The Country Gentlemen used dobro later on in their career, starting in 1973. Jerry Douglas and Mike Aldridge can be considered as the most prominent players on this instrument. Jerry Douglas, 1973–74, 1975, 1978. Mike Aldridge, John Duffy, Brian Blaylock, Kenny Haddock, Rob Hicks, 2004. Gene Wooten, Kim Gardner, Carl Nelson, Steve Wilson. Fiddle. The Country Gentlemen used fiddle occasionally on some of their recordings and during some concerts. Ricky Skaggs was the most notable fiddle player for the group. Ricky Skaggs, John Hall, Carl Nelson, Greg Luck, Glenn Duncan, 1992. Tim Smith, 1995. Timeline.